Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the MilSimUnits.com podcast. I'm your host, C. Brock, and with us here tonight we have several leaders from SEAL Team 3 and Arma 3 unit. That includes Vandal,
Hello.
and with him we have Wick.
Hello.
All right, gentlemen. Well, it's great to have you here. Like I was talking about before we started rolling, I've been tracking you guys in the MilSim universe. I didn't really take an up close and personal look like I hope we'll get to do here tonight. But I've noticed you around. I've seen your recruiting, media, and I'm just happy to have you guys here with us in the Tier One community. So, to kick things off, I want to get to know both of you. So can you tell us how did each of you get started in Milsim Gaming? And how long have you been at it?
Yeah, it's a great question. MilSim gaming in general, it's probably about 20 years. Going with like Ghost Recon, Delta Force. Um, if you're looking at PlayStation stuff, we end up doing a little bit more on like SOCOM,
Sure. Yeah.
rolling into back to PC. You have the Arma 2, Arma 3, obviously, and so forth. Those are the pretty big ones, I'd say. The Ghost Recon series, definitely spent a lot of time on that, just because of the realism in terms of it simulated certain parts of the different types of combat. But Arma 2, rolling into Arma 3, I'd say, those are the ones that kind of stuck the last 15 years.
So yeah, it's a pretty good history. You've got a variety of titles, under your belt across different platforms. So that's pretty impressive. We've got a lot of hardcore guys to go back, but there's a lot of new guys who are just getting into the mix now as well. So I'm sure you got a lot of stories to go, with that history.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's great to be able to look back, and if you're able to have any sort of media or any sort of data points that you can kind of review, it is nice from time to time to see how you kind of progressed over the course of a number of years.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I can imagine, the changes and developments and just evolutions over time. So yeah, again, that's pretty impressive. Now, Wick, what about you? How did you get started? When did you get started? And, how did you get up to the point where you are as a Master Chief in SEAL Team 3?
So I started playing games like Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, those type of games that kind of start out on different platforms like Xbox, PlayStation, and then I got a PC about 2 to 3 years ago. Actually, yeah, about 3 years ago, and I looked into playing Squad originally because I just liked the game. So I started playing Squad. I played it for I'd say about 9 or 10 months, and I really enjoyed like the aspect of using like real tactics and with some type of gameplay to it. And it's funny enough because I actually met Vandal when I was playing Squad. He was in a like a unit on there, and I met him through there. And come to find out, I wanted to kind of like expand more. So then I kind of found out he ran an Arma 3 unit. And I looked into Arma before Squad, and I wasn't sure if I was ready to make that jump. So when I messaged him about it, he was very opening about it. And he told me all about SEAL Team 3 and how long they've been around. So it really caught my eye. And then that's when I decided to make the jump and I made to Arma 3. And I've been here ever since.
That's pretty cool. And I mean, just, a real personal story there. It's, almost by chance you guys run into each other on a whole different, platform. But you figure out what you have in common, what you're looking for, and it works out to the point that you've been in SEAL Team 3 how long now?
This March it'll be going on 3 years.
Yeah, so that's dedication. That's a good long stretch for just about anybody in any unit. So great stories, great backgrounds. Just running the gamut in titles. Again, like I said, you've got loads of experience that you've been able to bring with you to your current leadership, roles and positions in a functional MilSim unit here. So. definitely we'll hopefully we'll get to unpack a lot more of that, as we get into the background and history of the unit itself. So, I want to get into the origins of SEAL Team 3. How did your personal interests or your experiences, whether that's military history, real world military service, how did your background in those interests influence SEAL Team Three's identity?
Yeah, it is a good question. I would say if looking at the origins, there's a lot of stuff driven from just that overall tactical milsim desire, right? Doing something organized, having some sort of story, having some level of progression that isn't linear like most video games are. So when you have a chance to kind of do something on your own, you're able to stand something up. You have the capability to, set up a website. You're able to set up something on Steam or whatever it is. We have the Steam groups and things. When that first came out, you get to like actively progress with a group of people. It really gives you a different sense of community versus like joining like a clan or something in a different video game setting. Like maybe I don't know. We mentioned squad, or it could be a Battlefield series type of game or Call of Duty or things like that, right? So that drive to want to do something organized on a repeated basis that has progression that you can look back and see those data points. That kind of like really stuck out. Specifically with the seals, initially I wasn't 100% like gung ho. It's like the seals are the way to go. It was really more of something that kind of bubbled up over time. The big driving point was really more as Arma 3 started to get more mod support and more mods added. There were levels of that Cold War aspect, those, the 1980s, 1970s, early 90s, equipment and clothing and all that fun stuff that kind of really piqued the interest. And when that was kind of there, that kind of drove the thing to like, hey, let's go ahead and put something organized together. We put something together, on a different website. I don't know if you guys remember the website platform. I think it was Engine from back in the day. That
Hmm.
ended up shutting down,
Yep.
but it was very group like gaming group friendly. And so we were able to set that up. We had a mission. We had everything we wanted to accomplish. I kind of drove it on that, and it incrementally took off, over each year, and we were able to kind of build on that. Compared to today, if you look back and compare, I'd say it's a night and day difference from when we started to right now.
Well, that's a great background. I mean, everybody loves a success story. And, I have to say, I mean, there are a lot of units out there, at least there have been over time, a lot of SEAL team units that have tried to get things together. It starts out maybe, a group, small, you know, uh, team-sized element trying to build up. But it's hard. It can be a slog. And you're right. If you don't have the right I don't want to say like technical facilities, so to speak, but if you don't have the right mods, yeah, it's going to fall flat for sure. In addition to all the challenges in leadership over time, but yeah, Armor 3, yeah, the mods, yeah, it took a couple of years, but they eventually caught up with the community, and sounds like that certainly gave you guys the boost that you were looking for, but. It seems like you've had it together with your planning and, like you said, story driven mission sets since day one.
Absolutely. And doing this for what it's going to be 12 years or something like that.
Mm,
Yeah, I'd say about 12 years. It's definitely pretty crazy to if you actually think about that in terms of time. But
yep.
you can see there is an active progression. You can see, when you first start out, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and you see what you're identifying as improvements and what you need to actually improve on, right? If you see something that could be shored up, or there's a better way of doing something, or maybe a new mod is out there that has been tested and tried, and you want to try to find a way to implement that change. It's not like it doesn't go with like what's the hottest thing out there today. There's an actual process. We don't not that we don't like change. It's we want to make sure that we're not moving too quickly. We measure twice and cut once, and that method has kind of been proven over the last decade essentially on this kind of thing.
That's a good point, and yeah, the proof is in the pudding. You guys have been like I was mentioning before we started recording. I was checking out Vandal your YouTube channel, and I mean you've got videos going back almost a decade now, and I mean it's some really high quality stuff. I mean shorter clips, full length mission recordings. And I mean, you can tell good good editing, serious story writing, and then of course you need the Zeusing and the field leadership and all the trained SEALs coming up with you. So a very complicated endeavor that like you said, progressed. You've built this progression over time, and it's really played out well. So, I mean, with that in mind, I'm curious about your operations. I mean, I've seen, some of the videos. I still want to check out some more because I just got into the kind of, tip of the iceberg here. But, what kind of unique ingredients, whether it's, the planning, the tools or the mods, the creativity and the storytelling, what is it that your unit brings to its missions? That makes it stand out in the scene. I mean, you've got the history here, so how are you guys, different in that progression compared to some of the other units, whether SEAL or any other, theme for that matter?
Well, so every unit has their own way to approach playing the game, right? Our approach over the years really emphasize on the planning process, not necessarily just training. Like training comes like should be an always kind of like thing, right? The only way you can get better is to actually implement something in game and see it and see how it plays out, and
Hmm.
then make those adjustments. So we kind of just training's kind of an obvious thing. We don't spend the time on like FTXs and things like that. We try to space out the time based on what's needed, and we kind of just let that play out. But the other piece for the mission process is we put a lot of time in the planning. There's a lot of prep work with it comes to like the initial, so your warno, we do something called the patrol leaders order, pretty simple, same as the op order and things like that for army. We kind of go from the from top down. We try to get all the different questions out of the way. We do all the EEIs. We do everything from weather to, I mean, pretty much you can name it. We probably do it in the beginning. We try to give everybody enough time to get eyes on. And then the other part about it too is we also encourage other people within the community here to be part of the planning process. So it's not going to just be like the top down where here's the plan, here's what we're doing, memorize it, be ready to go. Here's our overall plan, here's the tasks. Come up with your individual element plan. We'll see if it works, and we'll put together a full plan and finalize it before whatever day it is. And that way it gives other people within those elements a chance to kind of step up and contribute, and also see their actual their ideas come to light, if they're, whether they're good or bad. Sometimes if it's something that might be maybe a not the best tactical decision, but it's still a decent decision, we'll let something fly. If it's like, hey, we're all going to jump off a cliff, obviously we'll look at it and say, hey, well, I think we need to think about this. We'll probably look at a different alternative. But we want to give people so a little bit of room for growth, because I think it's important that we have critical thinkers, not necessarily just foot soldiers running around saying that they're a special operator.
Well, no, I mean, that speaks to your focus on realism. You describe SEAL Team 3 as a realism, unit, and I mean that's the thing. You're going from start to finish, as realistically as you can, within reason, of course, in the armor verse, in with your time constraints and your communication constraints. But I mean that's the thing. When you think about a realism unit, that's it. That's it. With the planning, all the preparation, the actual operations, and the engagement, on target. It's a lot. Like I said, it's a lot of moving pieces, and you've managed to bring it all together and put on a pretty good spectacle, if I may say so. At the same time. So it's impressive. And you mentioned earlier about the importance of community, and contrasting your operations with the linear nature of a lot of other games and quote unquote MilSim experiences. You're absolutely right. The story's one way. It's like playability, replayability, I should say, is limited. But in the Armorverse, if you've got the right people, who are dedicated and they're willing to invest their time, to bring out the best in people and create those experience, those memorable experiences. I mean, the sky's the limit. So I'd say it's pretty well done. And like I said earlier, I'm also happy to get you guys, kind of into the spotlight here tonight. Because it is worth seeing. Successful SEAL team units. I mean, I have to say I haven't seen too many over the years. But in any case, just well said by you, and I'm glad that we were able to unlock that a little bit deeper.
No, we appreciate it. Certainly appreciate the spotlight and the opportunity to kind of just have that kind of a chat. Just on the planning, just hitting home again. We do plenty of documentation, nothing that's like overburdened, but we do try to get things where, again, we want to hit home on like information, and we try to have a mix between period specific real life information being passed down and what people would see, what they would kind of expect,
Mhm.
and then also a little bit, with the gaming kind of updated pieces to it, right? We're not going to
Mhm.
do like the beach gradient and certain elements like the tide that we or the current, things like that. We're not going to get caught in a riptide or anything. So
Right.
there's things we don't actually really have to dive into, but we do maybe a little kind of pencil whip and for immersion's sake.
That's it. You said it in a word, immersion. That's one thing that Arma 3 for its age and its technical limitations, it does have a way of really just engrossing your senses and getting you is kind of mentally fixed on the task at hand as you possibly could in the game. So yeah, it's impressive to see. It's a good use of a very I think storied title in itself. So earlier, Vandal, you mentioned, community, the importance of, the brotherhood in your members here. So, I want to ask you, kind of a unique question. We're trying to take a new, perspective at the units that we sit down with here. So I want to ask, I mean, do you guys have a mascot or a symbol? And if not, uh, what would it be? How does that symbol, reflect SEAL Team Three's personality as a unit?
Yeah, it's a great question. Been thinking about that for a few minutes actually, just in general. If I were to fall back on something, on almost all my YouTube videos, at the end, there's a basically there's an end image, and if you
Mhm.
look at that, it's kind of fades, and it should be basically a American flag with that CL
Right.
symbol. And the reason why I would say that is because we kind of hit home on being that Cold War themed group, so we have that level of you know of
That's
like patriotism, sorry, and teamwork, right? That's the big thing, that trident piece. We're looking at camaraderie and teamwork, and I think
gotcha.
that's the biggest piece here, because it doesn't matter about some of the other pieces. If you're not going to be operating as one, or with a group, you're not really going to be doing anything in a community. You can show up and be the best person you can be by yourself. Being part of a team, that takes a lot more effort. And so I think that's the kind of the focus, and most of the people here, they've seen that message and they drive home on that message every time we're out in the field.
All right, yeah, I'm looking at it now. So we'll definitely, we'll have some media from the unit, in our background here for the podcast. So definitely, I'll get that up so people will get eyes on. I recognize that because when I was playing Army, as a kid, I had my M81, shirt, my ripstop, and I think I picked up a SEAL Team 3 patch at a surplus store somewhere. I don't know, remember where it was, but I remember hand stitching that thing on my sleeve because I thought it looked cool, and I knew who the SEALs were sort of as a kid, but it's funny because I do recognize the insignia there, the whole patch with the text and the gold, and it's just a nice background with the flag. So definitely, I'll get that up so guys can get eyes on. It is pretty striking.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just a little personal Brock history there. Yeah, I may be an Army Milsim guy, but hey, I'm interested in all kinds of operations. So, but yeah, that's great. Now, obviously, and in looking back over time, I think it's fair to say everybody with experience recognizes this. In terms of developing a unit of making those progressions as a community, as an organization, as a MilSim group, recruiting and retaining the right members is absolutely key. So I want to ask, what traits do you think make somebody the right fit for SEAL Team 3? And I mean, what are those traits and that keep them engaged over time?
I could definitely answer this one.
Yeah, absolutely, I'm all ears.
So, what makes someone a perfect fit for the unit? Definitely, I would say a willingness to learn, because you never stop learning, right?
Hmm.
So, I think one of the main driving pieces that I try to look for in recruiting people is that they have to have a willingness to learn, because if you're not willing to learn, I don't really think you're going to last here, because we're always learning, we're always adapting, we're always doing something to better the team as a whole.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a pretty fair point. I mean, I know a lot of guys, they got an ego maybe. Maybe they got a lot of experience themselves, but some guys they get to a point where they think that they've learned everything they possibly could, at least maybe in the Armorverse. But I gotta say, SEALs are different. We got a lot of guys that are pretenders out there. I mean, I guess we're all similar to an extent, but you've got some guys that slap on the name, but they're really not focusing on the realism or immersion. Certainly not to the extent that you are as a unit. So that in itself is a fair point. Now, you guys, you mentioned, some of your training. You don't do a whole lot of extensive FTX, but you do, hone in and you kind of focus on the points that need refinement or improvement to get you where you want to be. So, in terms of that learning, or the learning curve for that matter, what can a new member expect if he's just kind of signed on the line and he's ready to get started? What does that experience look like in terms of him learning how to be a SEAL?
Yeah. We're really we're open to anybody with any skill level as long as they have those base expectations. I know Wick just mentioned one of them. A couple of them we do is we're looking for high activity, right?
Mm.
That's not always going to be possible with life, but high activity we kind of tie that into communication. So communication is going to be critical in anything. So if you can't communicate, you're not really going to be a fit here, because we're here to kind of drive forward on something, and we just need to have accountability on people when we're doing things. So whether hey, I'm stuck, I'm not going to be able to get on for a week or whatever, that's totally fine. As long as you're communicating, right?
Yep.
So you gotta have that. The next thing, obviously, again, we just hit on already, is being a team player, right? So we need people to be team players. We don't need lone wolves. We don't really care for lone wolves. It's just, it is what it is. We do a lot of things require coordination, communication, all that fun stuff. And team player is very critical in that aspect. Always striving to do your best. We don't want people coming in, with the wrong mentality. We want you to always put your best foot forward, keep trying, and even if you're not doing well, that's okay. Like, just do the best you can. Obviously, we want people to have a level of integrity. That's pretty critical here as well. Humility and being able to respect others. And then lastly, you have to be willing to learn. So if you don't have a willingness to learn, and you come in here with like the background of like I've got 15 years of Arma experience or whatever it might be,
Right.
or I'm a real Navy SEAL, again, that like you said earlier, that ego isn't going to fly. Like we value people that have the experience and can be a critical thinker, but everybody comes into the process the same way. Some people just move up faster than others. So a new person, brand new. I mean, we have people that come in first time PC, they get into the program, they join in. we first thing we do is we actually assess somebody's skills. So we see what you actually are capable of doing and what you're not. So we can kind of critique what we need to do to work with you. The next thing that we do is we have a mentorship program. So we have a seasoned person that is already in the unit, get us paired up to that individual directly. And their sole purpose is to be that person's mentor until they are essentially signed off that they're fully ready to go. So, and that person will work with them on and off on any skill set issue, any mechanical thing, anything that is deemed necessary, and be that mentor and guide on and off the field. That's in game, team speak, could be on Steam chat, doesn't matter, right? That person's lifeline, and we want them to have that kind of a bond. The next thing is we have that basic, some sort of basic level training. It's not a basic training like Army or anything like that, or SEALs Buds like the actual Buds program. It's a basic level training of expected skills and tactics that we want somebody to have in the field. And a lot of those, as people go through, we do a lot of go or no goes with that. You get a little bit of an immersion, but most of it is a lot of go or no goes, and things kind of flow through depending on how well you pick up on that information.
Wow, sounds
Somebody
like
who's brand new to PC, you can definitely move from just getting in to completing something like that relatively quickly, as long as you're able to learn. And if you're struggling, we'll work on those friction points to kind of iron them out.
gotcha. Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like you're just keeping it real, you know. I mean, you're approaching it, with maturity, making, really a solid commitment on your own part, to any new people who are coming on board, to get them where they need to be. And I mean, you're right. If somebody's got experience and they know how to work as a team player and how to flow and contribute those strengths and those experiences that they've had to the success of the greater unit. I mean, that's when some magic can really happen on the server. In an op, training for that matter. Like you said, bringing out the best in people. That's what I think for a lot of us in the more serious MilSim units out there. That's what we're looking for. We want to bring it to that next level, and obviously it's a game. We all know that, but when you really do, make that effort, and not only you personally, but as a team member. I mean, it just that's when you really push the game's potential to its maximum. So glad to hear it. I mean, that's these are points that I hope other unit leaders, other unit members out there, other people who are just getting into Milsim can take to heart, because it really does matter. We're all coming together to have a good time, but it takes work to pull it off. So, um, there's a lot of fair points here in terms of the positives and the negatives, the ups and downs of what it takes, and what to avoid. So, I'm happy that you guys have shared that with us.
Absolutely, and you hit the nail right in the head. Everything is time, and it's an investment not only for the person that's trying to join the community or for the person that is going to be working with them, right? So every person that comes through, we want them to make it through the entire process in terms of joining and being part of us. And if they can't, that's totally fine too. But we understand that when someone comes in, we are dedicating that additional time to help work with that potential person to help get them through and through, right? We do want to get to the point where we identify and say, hey, this person's either not going to fit or this person will. And we usually will help lead that person to that decision on their own. We don't really just say, hey, you're a bad fit, see you later. Usually that person that isn't a good fit will see themselves out because they realize that maybe this isn't the right fit for them.
Mm. Yep, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's it can be sensitive. Recruiting retention is one thing, but yeah, discipline, that's a whole nother story. But with your standards and just the approach that you have, I mean, it sounds like a lot of fun to me, and I'm sure a lot of the other hardcore guys out there. But it's not for everybody. Milsim is growing, with all the other titles that are kind of joining the mix with Arma 3. We got a pretty big global community. It can be a little bit. I don't want to call it a niche, so to speak, but yeah, the kind of more dedicated you are tactically and technically, the kind of narrower the field. So But all in all, I think you guys got a great approach. Now, I mentioned, some of your media, Vandal, your YouTube channel in particular, saw a couple of vids from that. How do you guys use social media, like YouTube or any other platforms out there, to reach a broader community? And have you seen any big wins? I mean, how does that media presence benefit the team?
So from my angle, I'll kind of give a short little piece just because of the YouTube channel itself. And
Sure.
I know Wick has been kind of spearheading the other angles on that, so I'll let him speak on to the other pieces.
Great.
As far as YouTube is concerned, I mainly was trying to showcase what we do on our mission. It wasn't necessarily just specifically just be a drive home on recruitment, although we did have some tailored recruitment videos on there. I always found that it's, to kind of look back and see how the missions kind of played out. I think that's also another angle to kind of look at. I know from other people, if they also record, I find it to be an also really good learning tool, kind of analyze and see what you're doing well and what you're not doing well.
Mm.
So we kind of use that for that kind of purpose as well. But as far as YouTube on, the different channels, we we do try to help promote on the different Arma sites when we can. I don't really do a whole lot as much as I could. It's mostly time related, time constraints. As we were saying earlier, I'm about a year and a half behind getting all my videos kind of posted.
Mm.
But there's certainly opportunities there from the media standpoint with just the YouTube. Um, I know Wick here has been spearheading the other pieces, so I'll let him kind of speak on those.
Sure.
Yeah. So in the units like history, we haven't really connected a whole lot on the platforms like X, Instagram, or Facebook. Like kind of like Vandal said, YouTube has pretty much been the bread and butter for the community. Uh, we do stream on Twitch. We have been consistently now streaming on Twitch. A few of other of our members here in the unit, they also stream on Twitch. So we got that going. For platforms like X, we've recently created one, and we've also created an Instagram one. So we are starting to branch out more. We also do utilize Reddit as well as a different platform to kind of showcase what we do here. So we are definitely expanding in the right direction.
Gotcha. Yeah, it sounds like you're covering all the bases. In addition to Devano's YouTube channel, you also have the SEAL Team 3 website, and I'll put links down in the description below so you guys can check out their media. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty good coverage from what I've seen. I wasn't aware of the other platforms, like X, for instance, that you're branching out into. But it's talk about a progression. That's the natural progression, in terms of media. It just as things come up, the interest rises, and you guys want to at least start fostering some connections, if not going out all out on a total media blitz. That's that's a whole another beast in itself, in addition to running a unit. But all in all, yeah, that's pretty good presence and coverage. So we'll definitely have all those links below, so people can get eyes on themselves and check out what you got going.
Absolutely.
Now, of course, I always want to ask about MilSim units. I mean, we're here, as that kind of platform where people, different unit leaders, unit members, people from all across the MilSim, spectrum can come together, congregate as a community, get recruitment on, get operations, whether just unit ops and joint ops going, get inspirations, just chewing the fat and just blowing off steam as a community. There's a lot of things that we're looking to do and things that we are hoping to build upon and improve and develop ourselves going forward into the new year and beyond. So I'm always happy and eager to get feedback. I want to hear, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as I say. What works, what could work better, so that way we can improve and keep pace with everybody else, kind of coming up around us within the community. So yeah, I want to ask you guys in terms of your connections here. I mean, you've been on the platform since we got rolling over a year ago, you're now a tier one subscriber. So, are there any standout moments where MilSim Units has been able to help you, your unit connect with another group or a player, or anyone for that matter that you wouldn't have run into otherwise?
Good question. I think we had a few people that have found us through MilSim units. This is before even the tier subscriber. So definitely there's some visibility there, and that's what they're putting down and part of that conversation. I'm not sure, obviously when you're going through that process, I'm not sure how much of a major impact that was, but definitely from the media platform itself, it does help with that data in terms of seeing where people are actually finding your community and looking at that interest.
Right, and that's what we like to hear because some units still ask, where did you hear us? I didn't click on your application, but I saw that you have an application link on your milsimunits.com profile. We'll have that, of course, linked below as well. But not everybody always checks where people are coming from. They might just get onto the Discord and say, "Hey, I want to join up," and it might be a kind of a recruiter conversation, but not everybody tracks where their members are coming from. So that's one thing that we like to track. I mean, we've got our analytics and all that data on the website in terms of clicks and views and whatnot, and from respective units. But it's always good to hear from the other side, where those connections, come about, because I mean, there are other platforms. I mean, we're growing. Hopefully we're keeping pace with, if not exceeding, some of the other platforms out there that might have been great in the past, but are kind of fading by because they don't offer the depth and breadth of connections that we're trying to bring about here. But um, you know, at the end of the day, those connections are what drive a unit. Recruiting and retention is what it's all about. So anything we can do, we're happy to hear it, and we want to know what we can do better, if anything. So, is there anything that we've been able to do that has surprised you in terms of your impact, or the impact on your unit's growth? I mean, um, you know, uh, obviously you guys have been on the milsimunits.com website here for a long time. I've been tracking you in Arma 3, like I said, for since the beginning, so for over a year. Um, you know, anything that has surprised you in your experience here with the platform?
Uh, Definitely. So something that's definitely a surprised me is how much you can really promote your unit. Because I know a lot of places they don't really allow you to promote your unit as much as you guys do. So I think one of the main attractions that made us become a top tier in the unit for MilSim units is that you guys have a lot of flexibility in terms of how can you showcase your unit, right? So I think that's one of really the main driving factors as to what made the decision for us to go to be a top tier subscriber.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, again, we always like to hear the feedback. Yeah, come what may, we're trying to grow and evolve, just like everyone else. So, I mean, we've been working together in your support ticket here. I mean, that's the thing. We take these connections, these relationships serious on the platform. It's not just a casual, DM here and there, or just a hi in the chat. We take your growth, your development, your progression very seriously, regardless of what level tier you're at. If you're not a sub, we've got a lot of different resources and avenues for you to grow and develop. No matter what. But we're always happy when we provide those services and those capabilities, and they're fruitful for our members at any tier. So definitely glad to hear it. And, eventually that ticket will close. But if there's anything down the road that we can do for you guys or the unit, just let us know, because, we're keeping our comms open. It's a two-way street. And this really is a community.
Absolutely.
So, we're talking about progression. I'm always eager. It's like I do my own kind of brainstorming. I kind of, check the wins, if you will, see where things are moving. But I want to get your perspective here. From the SEAL team, where do you think the MilSim genre is going to evolve over the next couple of years? And you talked about your development, going back over a decade now. Where do you see SEAL Team 3 influencing or adapting, to the future of MilSim gaming?
So I think one of the things that a lot of people are always trying to do is look for the next game or next platform, right?
Yep.
I know there's a lot of different things in the works. We obviously know Arma 4 is coming out eventually. We have Arma Reforger right now, and then some other video games that are in development that could maybe fill some of those roles. The one thing that it's really hard to beat, and that's why I've been doing this for like 12 years, is that Arma 3 is just such a sandbox game that you can just do anything you want, when you want, how you want to do it. You can make things work to a certain extent, and it's never boring. Like you're never like I've never been bored in 12 years doing the same themed thing. So as far as capability, it's like I've always kept my eyes open for the next type of platform that can kind of support that capability. I just haven't personally seen it that was able to match Arma 3 yet. So my eyes are open. I'm hoping for Arma 4. I think if there's a lot more development with Reforger, that could potentially be something. Right now, Reforger looks like it could be great. It's just not there yet in terms of capability to compare between the two. So I wouldn't feel comfortable moving an entire community to a different platform that we wouldn't be able to be as consistent.
100%. Yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from there. Because Reforger is stunning. I mean, talking about immersion, the graphics, the sound, some different aspects of the gameplay is incredible. It's really impressive. And yeah, we're all kind of, we're just watching and wait for Armor 4, hoping that, it'll really blow our minds. But you're right. Looking back, Arma 3 is tried and true. It really has been the standard of MilSim, going back. I mean, if not since the beginning, what is that, 13, going on 14 years now? But for most of that period, at least in PC, it was the standard because you're right, you could do anything with the right mod and a little bit of scripting. There really isn't anything that you can't do in the modern era in MilSim gaming. And it is a big sandbox, big maps, big servers, big mod packs. So there's a lot to be said about it, and I think it's not going to die soon. Obviously, Reforger is just exploding, and yet we'll see what happens with Armor 4. Hopefully, it won't break our PCs, but um, in any case, I see Armor 3 living on for many years to come. So it sounds like you guys got a good thing going, and you're going to continue investing and developing in that kind of foundation that you built, and keeping the experiences going. I guess until the time comes when when it's right for the next big thing.
Absolutely, and that's where being in charge of something that you've already invested in so much time. One potential move can have a critical impact, and I think that sometimes if you rush to something just because you want to do something, you see something shiny, it might not always be the right decision. We are a fan of making decisions, period. Uh, but I think something that's consistent that has the same type of capabilities is really what we need to move from one to the other. So Reforger, like you were just calling, like this, a lot of the pieces in there, the engine itself has a lot of capability. I think it is exciting to watch, but it's not there yet, in my personal opinion. Still watching it though. I think if a few more things keep popping out and Arma 4 turns into something that isn't as desired, there's that alternative to the next step to get out of what is it called, a game engine that's from 2001.
Of uh, well, Either way, I mean, we'll see what comes, but I mean, that's the thing. You've got a good thing going, like I said. So, here's the future. I think the more mods that we see in Reforger, the better the experiences, the better the capabilities will become, or will present themselves. But yeah, it's got some catching up to do. As great as it looks visually and kind of in terms of its sound, the gameplay is just not at the same level. It's got a lot of strengths, but it's still catching up. So looking back over time, what do you think is the most rewarding moment that you've experienced in MilSim? And why it's with all your experiences, why does that particular moment stand out above the rest?
I would have to say, seeing your friendships kind of grow, meeting new people online, obviously, and seeing that progression. A lot of people in this community right now, I'd say about 90% of them have over a year, 10-year minimum.
Mm.
About 60% have probably 2 years minimum. So it's a pretty significant thing for people to invest that kind of time.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive. Time is it can be you could describe it as being accelerated in Milsim gaming. A month is a year in some units, and it just things don't always last because you talk about the commitment, the dedication, the level of standards. I mean, no, you're not going through buds. You're not going to be crawling around in the surf. Who knows how cold it is. But there is a commitment when it comes to realism and immersive gaming. So um, I can see how rewarding can be to see not only just people come together as a Milsim unit, but also to develop the community, the camaraderie, and the brotherhood. That they can progress from that from those relationships. In server and off.
Getting to know somebody for a number of years and seeing that relationship kind of evolve over time, and you build that level of trust. Uh, it's definitely it's a great feeling, right? I mean, I've known Wick here for just about 3 years, and it's definitely been it's been an enjoyable experience. Since he first joined, got to see him kind of progress, being a brand new person, knowing nothing about Arma, to now taking one of the kind of leading roles here within our community.
That's right. Yeah, training the trainer. Now he's leading up the next generation of SEALs coming into the unit. That's great. All right. So, uh, with all your history, all the experiences, the missions, it's like I'm looking at like dozens here on Vandal's YouTube channel alone. And I'm looking forward to seeing the Twitch streams as well. But I want to ask about the unit. Is there a signature move, a tactic, anything that you're known for? As a SEAL team. Whether it's on server in the community. Uh, uh, how did it become your calling card? I mean, you guys talked about your symbol with the SEAL Team 3, patch over the American flag there. What about stuff in game? I mean, what was it that you SEALs do that us Army gamers don't wouldn't understand?
Yeah, I think I can answer this one.
Mm,
I would definitely say one of our signature moves or tactics, as you said, definitely doing special reconnaissance
mm,
on mission. Uh, it's super important, right, when you're on mission that you're able to recon a certain area and obtain information on the AO and what you're trying to do. So I would definitely say probably a signature move is definitely doing special reconnaissance because there's times where we've gone in, we've shot up the place, and we've captured personnel and we've done a whole bunch of other stuff. And then there's times where you don't even fire a single round and you have to do reconnaissance to figure out what you're doing here in this like area.
Gotcha. Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna say just Army units, Ranger units in particular, they're pretty kinetic. I mean, all special operations are kinetic to an extent. But yeah, there's something to be said about slinking around in the dark and kind of sneaking and spying and just capturing intel and maybe some enemy personnel along the way who got caught asleep at his guard post. That you're right. Frankly, I don't think that's something we see a whole lot of in the community, at least not in the media that we see. I mean, there's a plethora of SOCOM units out there, special operators, but yeah, the kind of shadowy stuff, recon, it's a tough skill. A lot of infantry and I'm sure Navy special operators, of course, they train in that. But getting it down, as a virtual expert, I mean, it takes work and a lot of practice to make yourself perfect there.
Yeah, one of the other things too to kind of dovetail on what Wick just said, obviously with being in our Navy SEALs genre and Cold War, we actually we do a lot of stuff with dives. Uh, it really depends on the theater and the mission profiles and things of that nature, but we do specialize in doing a lot of stuff with, say, underwater, right?
Hmm.
Some of our missions, and eventually you'll see some of them on the YouTube videos, and maybe there might be some there already now. Our dive operations we do mostly at night, and we normally do them uh, at distances, right? So you're not going to be just hopping in. You just swim 2 minutes and you reach shore and you do your mission, right? We do a real insert, offshore over the horizon. It's going to be in pitch black. If we're underwater doing the dive itself, it's pitch black. We're using our dead reckoning. We're using all of our tools that we did our pre-planning. We know how fast we can swim. We know our turns. We know our directions. We know everything, right? Using our bearings, and we will do entire maneuver under the water, no communication, and be able to reach an LP pretty much together without knowing where everybody's at.
Hmm.
And that could be a travel of like 30 minutes underwater, pitch black. You don't know where anybody's at.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not something you see every day, and you can imagine. I can imagine on a public server, a bunch of randos getting together and trying to pull that off. I mean, when Arma 3 came out, just about all you could do in water, you could float in AAV, but just about all you could do was drown. Now with the mods, the different the submersibles and the SDVs and scuba equipment, the limitations are off. So that puts a whole new perspective on recon when you guys are doing these underwater insertions. And I mean, yeah, you're slinking around in the dark the whole time, below surface, above surface, all the way back and forth, to and from the target. So it is impressive. I'm looking forward to getting some eyes on that because I fooled around with a few mods here and there, but actually, crafting a legit mission where you put all those pieces together. That sounds like a lot of fun to me.
It is a lot of fun. It takes a little bit of skill once you learn, but it's probably one of the most rewarding experiences landing at where you want to be after traveling and maybe making a different like two to three different types of maneuvers, taking a right, taking a left, whatever. You're moving because one false like turn, so you get disoriented for whatever reason. You don't know you got disoriented. You lose your bearing. Things are off. Things happen. Next thing you know, you're off target. Right? If you're off on a bearing, moving at say 2 clicks, and you're say 3 degrees off. Well, that's might not seem like much, but over a long distance, it's actually going to be pretty significant. So you won't know that you're making a mistake until after you think you're somewhere and you're not actually there. I think
Yeah,
it's pretty cool to be able to accomplish something like that, and for everybody that's been doing it, practicing, and we actually make that's probably more rewarding sometimes than actually hitting the target itself.
yeah. I was gonna say a lot of grunts they complain about land nav. They think they got it rough. Try doing that stuff underwater in the dark. It's like, yeah, how's that compass working for you now?
Oh yeah, Yeah, it's we there's definitely a lot of things that you will learn here. Like we do a lot of land navigation, and a lot of that will translate into real life. So if you take that, you can actually do that and take it away, and it's definitely a really useful tool.
Yeah, that's one of the cooler aspects of Milsim when you can actually learn those real life skills. I mean, the tool, the map tools, all the equipment is good enough at least for a theoretical, kind of presentation. So I love it when you can transfer those skills back and forth. So I want to ask, I mean, obviously you guys are SEALs. I know you guys have call signs, and I've heard some pretty colorful radio handles over the years in terms of audio recordings from Vietnam and the history books, personal stories from SEAL veterans and other podcasts covering real life SEAL teams. I want to ask a more playful question here. Can either of you think of a ridiculous call out, a nickname, any kind of handle that a member of SEAL Team 3 has earned during an operation or either their stint as a member of the unit?
So a lot of our call sign we give or nicknames we give, there's usually something happens either during the training process or during a mission typically, and then after that, if things are perfect, then we usually will try to come up with something when they're getting put into a an element. Couple of ones come to mind. I mean, they're not, I wouldn't really call them like super standoutish, but like sometimes things happen in the heat of the moment, and it's certainly interesting to see. One of the ones I was looking at, and this is probably a number of years ago, we had a member here, first time here, first time in a like playing the Arma itself, and he's kind of moving with the team. He's doing great. Sometimes he had a little bit of a connection issue, so he'd rubber band a little bit, which is fine, no big deal. So we keep moving along that. He finally gets through the whole mission. We're extracting. We're in a Chinook helicopter, and we're extracting out of the area. For whatever reason, he hits the wrong button in our middle of our flight, and now he's like semi ejected himself out of the helicopter, and he's like, like I don't know if you guys played with like repelling and things like that.
Sure. Yep.
So you got this guy dangling, kind of falling down the helicopter, moving at like 30 knots, trying to get him up and down on that. So eventually we end up dovetailing him a nickname of Yo-Yo, just because between that and his rubber banding.
Yep, that's pretty good. Yeah, I've got the mental picture here. I can just imagine with the fast ropes coming down, the two ropes coming out of the back ramp of the Chinook there. If it come out of a Huey or a Black Hawk, I mean, if you guys were flying that would have been a disaster. But uh, yeah, if I saw that, I can picture it just about. But yeah, if I'd seen that, man, I'd probably be still laughing about that today. So that's a great story. Yo-Yo, man. All right, you earned it. I mean, there are a lot of other guys named Yo-Yo out there. Some of them are quite famous for one reason or another. So it's all good. But yeah, that's a great story. Definitely, it illustrates. I don't know if it's like something unique about Arma, but it's something about the character of the game. We know its quirks, its good and bad points there, and there can be some pretty humorous moments. On a server with a lot of guys. So hopefully, I got to ask, did you guys get that on video? I mean, any record of that visually?
I definitely have it recorded somewhere for sure. I would have to try to dig it out.
That's great. Yeah, I'm gonna be. I'll search your channel for Yo-Yo. If that doesn't work, then yeah, I might have to ask you to unlock the archives for me. I want to check that out, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's a good one. So we've covered a lot here. Yeah, just 12 years plus. As a Arma 3 unit, going strong. You guys have great activity. I mean, you're active. Every week. You got multiple events going on. Just great comms, like you guys were kind of talking about at the beginning here. It seems like the future is wide open for you. And as much as we've covered, I always want to make sure that we really drive home any points that you want to focus on in terms of what it is that really you want to showcase in terms of what you have in SEAL Team 3. So I mean, to start, what's the proudest achievement that the unit has accomplished? Why does it mean so much to you?
Proudest achievement. That's pretty tough. There's a lot of different things out there to kind of think about for the criteria. I would say be a cross between like the tenure that we were just talking about. Not everybody can really do that. Not necessarily because they're not capable of doing it. It's more of a time commitment from that angle. So a lot of people just don't have the ability to spend that kind of time, which is perfectly reasonable, right?
Mm,
The other thing I would say, kind of dovetailing into the time commitment, I would say is the number of operations we do. So if we're playing at least once a week consistently, there's really not a Friday or whatever day we're playing that we're not playing. There's not something going on for that. I think that's pretty great to be able to see and give that ability for people to show up and have something organized to go do in their own lives if they don't have any organization. And then the other thing that kind of rolls into that is that when everybody has like some sort of story or some sort of like mission that they're kind of building and kind of putting together, right? We have the something that we worked on campaign wise, and you'll see them on my YouTube channel, the different operations names, and you'll notice that like at some point in 2021, I believe 2021 now, yeah, it was like July, we had pretty much kicked off a campaign that has been progressing all the way to right now, and we're still on the campaign as of today. And it's an actual operational campaign. And it went from basically the smaller operations, what we've been doing over and over again in different areas, different assignments, to incrementally having more tensions of certain things build up. And, about, I think it was in 2023, our time, obviously, we actually simulated a Cold War gone hot. And so we've been part of that process, getting to experience the different aspects of what a conventional systematically expanding conventional war going on, and how the special operations groups out there kind of can integrate into that, and you
mm,
can see the different capabilities with a war that has been going on now for multiple years, and what type of constraints you have, what type of capabilities have been eliminated, right? So we're used to seeing the all the bells and whistles with support assets, right? You're in trouble, you get a C-130, AC-130 ahead, and you can start getting fire support. You can get anything you want, like hot extract, whatever. Conventional war, conventional enemy, that's been going on for a while. You don't really have that, right? Your intelligence piece, your reconnaissance, your satellites is totally different. I mean, everything that's involved in the process, you get to see from the point of somebody who's on the ground, compartmentalized in a small area, and you systematically get to see bits and pieces of that. We've actually showcased pieces where we're doing news broadcasts, and we do things to try to catch people up on what's happening in the world, outside of our little thing, just to kind of give people a little glimpse. But it's really cool to see, the number of missions that I think we've done. Wait, what are we over? Like, we're probably over 200 and something missions in the campaign, right?
mm.
Just about, yeah.
Wow.
It's absolutely, it's definitely great to see something that can kind of progress over time, and you can see where it's going. And we actually keep track of that as well, because of the number of missions we've been on, and you get to see, we do like synopsis and outcomes and all that fun stuff. And I'd say it's great to be able to see something like that you're able to keep it going versus, some people have a very linear where it's like, we're going to do a 10 mission campaign, and on that 10th mission, this is what's going to happen no matter what. Like,
Mm,
our campaign is always changing based on the system and what we're actually doing in game. So something could adversely impact what we're doing, or maybe some random thing that is impacting it, because we do try to add a little bit of random from the outside world to kind of add into that. And it's great to be able to see the direction it goes.
That's very cool. Yeah, I mean, talk about story-driven operations there. I mean, going back years, with a rich, developed and really ever-changing story. I mean, yeah, that is something unique that you really don't see very often across the Armorverse or in MilSim in general. So, well said, and definitely that's something worth showing off and worth, showcasing to people who are interested in those rich storylines where they actually play a role that matters. They're it's one thing. I mean, yeah, we're all getting together to have a good time, but your time, your effort, your teamwork and commitment personally can influence the greater storyline. That's not something you see every day. So, is there anything else? I mean, I'm just thinking as much as we've covered, going back into both of your histories in gaming, the long, development and evolution of SEAL Team 3. Is there any final points, anything that you want to let the audience know about your unit that maybe we haven't touched on up to this point?
Wick, I'm gonna let you take point in that, and I will backfill off of what you're kind of diving into.
Yeah. There's so many things. It's like it's really hard to pinpoint a specific thing.
I'd say, Wick, if we're kind of talking about it, I think you're hitting on the quality of the members that we're trying to pull in versus the quantity.
Yeah, definitely quality over quantity, right? We don't want like kind of like we said before, we don't want that lone wolf mentality. We always want somebody that's gonna put the team first before anything, because like we covered it before. Like you're not gonna survive here if you just come in with the know-it-all attitude and think like my shit don't stink kind of deal.
Yep.
So definitely, I would say, like I touched on, like a willingness to learn, and some of the other traits that were said, humble personality, um, like a team player, showing respect to others.
Good points.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're not, we operate right as a SEAL team, and they can operate, 16 people in the field is definitely comfortable. We can operate with less, can operate down as a swim team, 2 person. Uh, we don't necessarily need 40 people out there to feel good, right? So we kind of want to grow organically as best we can. We want people to kind of see it, and we want them to be bought into what they're looking at. We want them to have the interest. If we have to really drive on like selling the idea, it might not be for that individual. Sometimes it might just take like, hey, this is what the Cold War kind of looks like, because obviously there's a huge gap between 2026 and 1980, and a lot of people coming into gaming now have no idea what the Cold War even looked like because they're born in like 2003,
Yep.
which is fine. And so there's a little bit of that educational piece, but once they see the combat, I think the combat is going to be driving everything else. Like when you have like the basic kind of equipment and you're out there engaging something that is going to give you a little bit more of a hard time, there's something about that firefight versus that in a like some sort of high powered magnified optic with a suppressor. It's just a different feeling when you're out there, right? Land navigation, like all the different pieces, something that's going to give you a challenge, against an PVE environment. It's just different, right? PvP, mean, Arma really isn't the game platform for that. So I would probably recommend something else. But PvE, you have to have a balance in your AI versus players, and you're never going to have it to the point that they're going to, really be capable of being as good as real players without being an aimbot. So in order to have that experience, this kind of gives you that bridge where you're not able to, you know, see at 700 meters easily. And so those firefights happening at distance, it's a little bit different feeling. Like you feel like you're pinned down, you're getting shot at by machine gun fire. You're feeling that versus I'm getting shot, I can see him, I hit him. All right, I'm moving on.
Mm.
So I think people, if they get educated in that and they can see that, I think it can pique that interest. But obviously, again, a lot of people, you know, this is more of a niche kind of thing. So you have to really, see it, get interested, and learn how you want to get involved versus, there's plenty. I mean, almost every other unit is more modern, which is fantastic because anything that you can do from a Milsim perspective, I'm fully on board. I'm a huge proponent of some sort of team, organized team aspect, that gives people a chance to kind of work together and work towards something. So I'd rather see a bunch of units out there striving than having a bunch of just pickup games on public servers or playing something where you're not really being organized.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, you both offered some great perspectives here. Talking about quality and quantity. Um, you know, posing a challenge. I mean, that's the thing. Milsim is what you make of it. And if you want to push yourself, if you want to, be pushed by others in a team, I mean, there are some great opportunities. You can learn a lot, both on server and in terms of skills that you can transfer off or not off server. And I think we covered a lot of that here tonight. It's been a really great look into the unit. After all these years of me seeing your banner there, like I mentioned that GIF, it always caught my eye. Just yeah, it looked cool. So really glad to get you guys on the program to get to know a little bit about what you're doing here in the Armorverse and to get a glimpse of what your prospects are looking like for the days and years ahead. So, Vandal, Wick, it's really been a pleasure. Really glad to have you on the platform and to get this in the mix here for the podcast in the new year.
Well, we certainly appreciate MilSim units wanting to invest in their own time and resources to kind of stand up a platform to begin with. Not everybody wants to kind of have a focus of that, and when we see it, we want to try to support it any way we can.
No, appreciate it as always. It's been a pleasure working with you. Looking forward to keeping it going. We'll keep the comms open, like I said. Whatever we can do to help, we're all ears, and we're ready to, put our mouth where put our money, I should say, where our mouth is. So, really good to have you here, gentlemen. Um, it's been another great podcast, ladies and gents. Definitely looking forward to getting this up. And I haven't done any of the final editing yet, but I'm going to get some of that media there. I got to find Yo-Yo dangling out of the back of that Chinook. If I can, I'll definitely get that in the background. But either way, definitely looking forward to getting this one up. I'm or in the works, getting some other units on board in terms of the next podcast episode or two. So definitely be back ASAP with another peek into the community of milsimunits.com. Till that time, this is Seabrock signing off.